everybody, this is Shirley.
And this is Rachel.
And we're not going to do I'm not going to do those terrible impressions anymore.
Yeah, I was never going to do them.
Yes.
But
welcome to Podcasa, Bonita.
Yes, this is our special Matt and Trey episode. Today we are going to be talking about Season 3, along with Cannibal the Musical, Orgazmo, and BASEketball. So you guys are in for a treat.
Yep, a very long, probably boring treat.
Yeah.
Alright, so we're just going to go ahead and get started with Season 3. This season kind of has, like, a reputation of... Trey... I don't know about Matt, but Trey has, like, said he's not a big fan of this season. He wasn't a big fan of Season 2 because it was just different storytelling-wise, and they hadn't quite gotten their groove yet. Trey wasn't the main director at this point, and the main writer, so it's it's just a bit of a mix, so nothing had been settled, so that's probably why. But I actually kind of like this season. This season isn't too bad.
I think it's kind of funny, the fact that, like, our special Matt and Trey episode is, like, during the season that Trey hates the most. I think that's kind of ironic.
But, we'll just dive right ahead and get started with episode 1, Rainforest, Schmainforest.
It aired April 7th, 1999.
The children are forced to join a choir sent to Costa Rica to perform against deforestation, but they end up lost in a rainforest and discover that the rainforest is not worth saving. Meanwhile, Kenny falls for a girl in the chorus, but she is reluctant to pursue a long-distance relationship.
Isn't this the one where, like, Jennifer Aniston guest stars?
This is Jennifer Aniston's guest star episode, and this was, like, when people actually guest starred on South Park. Like,
right?
There were a ton of guest stars. There were, like, a good amount of guest stars.
Like, George Clooney was Stan's dog for that one episode.
Yeah, that was a sweet guest star, but we have, like, not had any guest stars since, like, Sia. Sia did Lord, but this is, like, the season of guest stars, I guess. Because we've got a couple of guest stars this season.
We do.
But, yeah, this episode, the main thing I have to say is, like, it's got Jennifer Aniston in it.
Yeah.
The choir director.
I noticed that it has this recurring theme of Carmen smacking things with sticks. Like, that's still a thing.
That's still a thing. Another cool fact about this episode is, the oh my god, they killed Kenny thing is, like, kind of, like, finally acknowledged when, like, Kenny dies in this episode, and, you know, Stan and Kyle say, oh my god, they killed Kenny, you bastard, and the, girl,
his girlfriend,
like, little girlfriend is asking, like, who killed them? And they're like, they did.
Aren't you going to do anything? No.
They're really referring to Matt and Trey.
Yeah.
That's who they're referring to.
Alright.
Yeah.
It also has Carmen ripping on Kyle for having no rhythm, which I thought was funny. Like, it seemed like it was this huge deal. The choir director's like, Kyle, I swear to God, don't mess up.
It's like, Jews don't have any rhythm.
Like, shut up, Carmen!
But, it's also had, it had the music, like, it ripped on, you know, like those traveling, you know, singing, I don't know what they're called, but, it had, like, a funny, like, little, musical number in it, so. Yeah,
getting gay with kids.
Yeah, it's just an episode that's kind of there.
And it does take an opposite stance, which Matt and Trey are prone to do, because they like to look at the other side. And I like how it was kind of an anti-rainforest message, where they're like, no, fuck the rainforest was the message.
See, and the reason why it was made, another fun fact, I have more than I thought I did.
Yay.
The reason why they made this episode was because Trey and his girlfriend at the time went to the rainforest, and they're like, it's totally sucked ass. We gotta make an episode about it, because it was so terrible. Alright, are you ready to move on?
I am.
Alright, episode 2 is Spontaneous Combustion.
It aired April 14th, 1999.
Randy must solve the problem when citizens start spontaneously combusting. Meanwhile, Cartman plays Jesus in Stations of the Cross play and ends up stuck on the cross. This is the very first Randy episode.
It is. Kind of shaped
the first Randy episode.
That's like the whole plot line. The whole plot line where they leave Cartman on the cross is so funny to me. It's like the best part.
Also, this episode's directed by Matt. It's like one of the very few directed by Matt. So, yeah.
Very nice.
Go Matt.
Yeah. Props to him. I had this really stupid note that I wrote down about, the whole joke where they do the whole thing because Kyle wants to get his dad an erection, and that's the whole joke. I kind of noticed, I'm like, hey, it's kind of unrealistic to me that Kenny doesn't know what an erection is. Like, because, he knew what a dildo was, but how does he not know? I don't know. Maybe I'm just nitpicking.
It's so funny. And it still shows, in the earlier seasons, the kids are, way more naive. They don't know.
Yeah.
They're a little bit more like kids than what they are now, and now the kids know all about sex.
Right? They know everything. They know more than me.
Exactly. There's, they've changed a lot. They've learned a lot through these past seasons. But this is the reason why everybody is spontaneously combusting is because they're holding in their farts, and then the ozone layer is getting
ripped
messed
apart.
up because everybody is farting. So, yeah.
And I love
the weird episode. It's a weird one.
I know. I love the whole. I think this is the first time, but the joke where Chef calls the kids children, even though there's only one of them. I love when he does that. It's just Carmen. He's like, children, what are you doing here?
There's also a Scooby-Doo parody in this with a little song that Randy sings and everything, and it's a cheesy old Scooby-Doo. There are a lot of Scooby-Doo parodies in this season. A lot of them. But, I thought that part was really funny with, Randy, imagining,
yeah, make love to me, Randy. The whole
this old lady in reality, make love to me, Randy.
He's, chilling with it, though. He's, nice. Okay,
and then Cartman ending up, super starved and everything. Yeah. He was able to live off of his fat.
He's like, you guys, I swear to God.
Weeks. Oh, that was funny. But, yeah, that was spontaneous combustion.
Alright, want to go to the Succubus?
Let's do it. Succubus.
This aired April 21st, 1999.
When Chef gets engaged to a strange woman, the boys are convinced that Chef's fiancé is a demon bent on sucking the life out of men. Meanwhile, Cartman becomes the butt of several pranks by his eye doctor.
Right, this episode has one of the funniest South Park jokes in it, which is the whole tree fitty thing. I think that's hilarious.
That is the best. That is the best series of jokes.
I know. Oh my God.
Chef's parents. I miss Chef's parents.
I know.
So much. I miss them so much. Matt is Chef's dad and Trey's. I just want to see them in the recording room, just recording those two characters and everything. God damn it, woman, let me tell the story.
No wonder he keeps coming back. He's giving him money.
It took me about 2 seconds to realize this was not a Girl Scout, but a 10-story high Loch Ness monster from the Paleolithic area.
Oh my God.
That makes the whole episode.
Yeah.
It's better than the morning after joke.
Yeah. The only other joke that I really liked was the one where Cartman's asshole eye doctor or whatever, and he staples the glasses to his head. He's like, ow.
It's another weird episode, but the whole tree fitty
oh my God
joke line is the best. It just makes that whole episode.
I remember going and I completely forgot about that whole joke, but I was so delighted. I was like, yes.
I was so delighted because without it, it's an okay episode,
right?
But that whole little bit just makes it the greatest episode. It's so funny.
I agree.
I don't really have a fun fact for that one.
Me either. Mostly, I just I thought it was kind of the fact that she turned out to actually be a succubus was kind of a twist ending. But other than that,
was pretty
I don't have a lot to say.
and having to sing the morning after backwards and everything. I do actually have a fun fact. I watched the episode all the way through, even to the credits and everything, and they play the morning after sung backwards by Stan and Kyle, and at the very, very, very end of the credits, you can hear Matt and Trey cracking up at the end.
Oh, really? I didn't. Oh, man, I didn't watch.
You can hear them. I'm pretty sure this is the episode. I think it's happened more than once. It happens sometimes. At the end of the credits, they'll keep Matt and Trey cracking up at each other.
Oh, I never noticed that.
So, fun fact for that episode.
Nice. Way to go,
So
Shirley.
on?
Yes.
Alright, next is Jakovausaurs.
This aired June 16th, 1999.
The town saves the species from extinction, but finds that they are extremely annoying race that only Cartman can stand. It's another Matt-directed episode.
I think this is kind of funny because this is one of the episodes that is like listed as one of the most hated episodes because the Jakovausaurs are so annoying. So like with that in mind, I like went back and watching it and I was like, oh, they're probably not that bad. But like watching it, I was like, oh my god.
They're pretty bad. And this is obviously like a response to Jar Jar Binks and everything, and how hated of a character that is, and how annoying it is. But like it kind of makes the episode suffer because of how we know it like it's a parody and everything.
Yeah,
but it's
still
annoying
like, oh.
God.
One thing I loved was the fact that like kind of tying back to the whole lame like Steve Urkel sleeping bag and like how Cartman like is the only one who loves the Jakovausaurs. It was kind of like this theme through the episode of Cartman being like so fucking lame and like just the things that he liked is so funny like.
But I don't have much about this episode. Like it's I do kind of like I do like the scene where she's like giving birth and June's giving birth and they're just kind of like shooting out
like
and she was like, look,
cannonballs.
it's a miracle of childbirth and like amniotic fluid like spews all over them. Like that was pretty funny.
I like the beginning scene where Cartman like sings the "I Hate You Guys" song and then like has to go leave and take and he has to go leave and take a shit like 10 feet away. It's like
oh my gosh, he says like I need to think about soft serve ice cream. He's like, oh, that did it.
I was like, ew.
And then he's like, Kenny, can I use your glove?
He's like, yeah, sure. Hey, wait a minute.
It's sad that the best part of the episode is just the very, very, very beginning, and then it's just all down.
Yeah, it has like nothing to do with the actual like plot and jokes and.
Exactly. I hate you guys.
Yeah.
You guys are assholes.
Especially Kenny. And then I loved later on where he's like pooping. He's like, I'm leaving a little surprise for my friends, especially Kenny.
Pooping outside. That was a good one. That was a good joke. Next is the episode that started all of the shipping, the Creek shipping. Here's Tweek versus Craig.
Aired June 23rd, 1999. The beginning of an era.
Yep. Stan, Kyle, Cartman, and Kenny pit Tweek and Craig against each other. Meanwhile, the school shop teacher, Mr. Adler, copes with the loss of his wife, who died in a plane crash.
That whole storyline is like, I'm sorry, it's like the creepiest thing. Like, all those shots of her being like, Richard! I'm like, oh, why? It's scary.
My fun fact of this episode is that the live-action woman, is Pam Brady, who Matt and Trey have worked with forever. They did Team America with her. She's ridden on South Park before. Like,
cool.
She's a friend of theirs.
I
don't know if she still is. I don't think she's done anything with them recently, but like that's her. They came up with like this whole live-action thing.
Yeah.
That's when they still did like live-action stuff.
Yeah. They still had the time to go do that. Alright, I thought Mr. Adler was like a really funny character with this whole like you all screw around too much. Like that was it was like such a dumb joke, but like I don't know, I thought it was really funny.
And he's based on like Matt's old shop class teacher.
Oh, okay.
I love it when they're based on real people from Matt and Trey's life.
Yeah, like Chef and Mr. Mackey.
But yeah, but other than that, this isn't one of my favorite episodes. Like it's kind of weird, like how a huge movement of shipping will like just come from just this episode. Like it's not something that's like a super, in my opinion, I don't think it's like this awesome.
Yeah,
episode.
I mean, it's all right, I guess. I wonder what the episode that was that like sparked the Stan and Kyle shipping, or like the Kyle and Cartman shipping. You know, like, it makes you wonder, like, when did that start, right?
No idea, but like, yeah, there's not too much. It's got it's got Sumo Cartman in it.
Yeah, you know what storyline I love? The one where Kenny wants to avoid being in shop class and like become a trophy wife or whatever. And then he like gets kicked out. I'm like, let Kenny be a trophy wife. Come on.
Why can't he be a trophy wife? He's got beautiful blonde locks.
He can do whatever he wants.
He would totally be a bottom for somebody. I mean...
Oh my god. Shirley.
What? It's not like this is a G-rated podcast, okay?
Still, though, I don't like thinking about Kenny like that. Okay, let's move on.
Ready? Here's Sexual Harassment Panda.
Alright, aired July 7th, 1999.
This is admittedly... Oh, wait, I should probably read the description.
Yeah,
first.
come on, Shirley.
A man in a panda costume is hired to teach the kids about sexual harassment, leading Cartman to sue Stan and all the other kids to sue the school over claims of being harassed.
I'm sorry.
This is, like, admitted by, I think, Matt and Trey somewhere. I don't remember where they said it, but they're like, people just did not get this episode. Like, it was just so weird and meta for everybody.
I think that the funniest thing about this episode to me is not the actual episode, but the fact that I think Matt and Trey have said before, like, we literally have no memory of making this episode. Like,
yeah, that's what
that just kills me. I don't know why, but I think that's so funny.
But this was also, like, the season where they, like, handed it off to other writers and everything and tried to, like, hire other people to do stuff, and so that might be the reason why they don't remember anything.
This is like the beginning of Gerald going to the dark side. So this is where SkanCon 42's origin story began.
Exactly. Well, maybe, I mean, not to get all conspiracy theory on you, but maybe it's because he couldn't get an erection in spontaneous combustion.
It just spiraled from there. You heard it here first.
I don't give a damn about continuity,
right?
So I know none of this is true, but, like...
We're having fun, who cares?
We're having fun with it. But, it's got a clever story. I think it's not, like, a dumb story, you know, it's coherent and everything. It's got some good laughs in it.
Mm-hmm. And I like the whole thing was like, we don't take kindly to your type around here. It's like, oh, come on, Skeeter, leave him alone. And they, like, hammered that joke to death. But it was, I don't know, it was still funny.
They do that a lot. They do that a lot. Like, we don't take kindly to your... They do that a lot. Like, apologies to Jesse Jackson. They've done that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
they brought
much
it back.
later episode. But, I don't have much to say about this episode either.
Me either.
So, we're gonna move on to the first part of the trilogy in this.
The original trilogy.
It's their very first trilogy. I'm so proud of them. They, and the first episode is Cat Orgy.
Aired July 14th, 1999.
Part 1 of 3. Cartman is stuck at home with Stan's sister Shelley and has his babysitter while his mom is at a meteor shower party. Meanwhile, Cartman's cat, Mr. Kitty, is in heat and goes searching for sex with other cats. This is my favorite out of the trilogy.
This one was kind of a cute episode with, like, Cartman and Shelley teaming up.
I miss Shelley.
Oh my god, I agree. I fucking love Shelley. Wish she was in the show more.
See, I remember the first time I watched this, you know, Shelley, the joke is, like, Shelley has this boyfriend who's, like, so much older. He's, like, 22, and she's, like, 12 and everything. I'm like, are they not gonna acknowledge how creepy this is? And then
they did, though.
At one point, he's, like, trying to kiss her and everything. He's like, why aren't you gonna put out for me, Shelley? And she's like, 'cause I'm 12?
Even Cartman said something. Even Cartman said something at one point. He's like, "That's your boyfriend." He's like 50.
So I'm like, thank God they acknowledged it, or else the joke would have just kind of been like totally lost.
I'd be like, ooh.
That's where. But the weird thing is, I know people like that. So. But the best part, where this episode shines, is easily the Mr. Kitty cat orgy with like the catnip and. They have a huge sex party. Field on catnip.
Yeah, and it's like clearly a parody of like kids having parties while their parents are out of town or whatever, but it's a fucking cat.
This cat, and one of my favorite parts is where she meets a really huge fat cat and she tries to have sex with this one's cat, but he just like crushes her.
I love how Mr. Kitty is a girl, even though she's named Mr. Kitty.
Yeah, I love it. That's probably the best part of the episode. This is my favorite out of the trilogy.
Mm-hmm. Alright, I want to go to part 2?
Yes, 2 guys naked in a hot tub.
Aired July 21st, 1999.
God, pick up the pace, Rachel.
Sorry, my Skype lagged.
Part 2 of 3. At the meteor shower party mentioned in the previous episode, Stan is stuck in a basement with a group of nerdy kids from school who become more important to him when the ATF stakes out the party, thinking that the attendees will commit suicide when the meteor comes. Meanwhile, Randy feels uncomfortable after he and Gerald watch each other masturbate in hot tubs. See, the only thing I can think about is, like, is this based on something that really happened between Matt and Trey? Like, are they trying to, like, tell us something here?
Oh my god. I love Gerald in this episode. How he was all, like, needy. He's like, come on, why don't you want to talk to me about this? And Randy's like, oh my god, go away.
Go away. See, this is all leading up to Skank Hunt. It's all leading up to Skank Hunt.
I know. Alright, and then I did...
This is my second favorite. This is, like, my middle favorite.
I did kind of like the whole subplot with Stan and the Melvins or whatever, how he kind of, like, he's like, oh, you guys aren't so bad, but then he, like, ditches them immediately as soon as Kyle shows up.
My favorite part of the episode is definitely the Cher song.
Oh, yeah.
They're trying to, like, clear people out by playing Cher and everything.
They're like, but then people in the party are like, oh, is that Cher? Turn it off.
But, yeah, it obviously makes fun of, like, the ATF and the Waco and everything, and all that jazz, and, yeah, it's just, it's part 2.
That's the episode.
This focuses on, Stan's little half of the episode.
Yeah, this is the Stan episode.
The best part is definitely with Randy and Gerald.
Yeah,
together.
yeah, I agree. Alright, want to go on?
Yep.
Part 3.
What?
I said part 3.
Yeah. Alright, let's move on. Jubilee is the last part.
It aired July 28th, 1999.
Conclusion. On the night of the aforementioned meteor shower, Kyle, Kenny, and Ike go to a Jewish scout camp where Moses appears. This is one of my sister's favorite episodes.
Really? Alright, this is the Kyle and Kenny episode of the trilogy. I do think that it kind of has the, like... Oh, actually, I don't know. I shouldn't say that, because last one was kind of intense. But I feel like Jewbilee and then the Naked in the Hot Tub both kind of had, like, the highest stakes, where, like, people could die and stuff, whereas the other one was just, like, Carmen and Shelley, like, dicking around.
I loved, Ike. In this little episode. I always love Ike. Ike is, like, one of my favorite characters. But, I love the scene where they're making macaroni sculptures, and the joke is, like, all of them... to Moses, they, like, give him all these, like, crappy, arts and crafts gifts, but, like, Ike makes a macaroni painting of, like, the Last Supper, and the counselor gets all mad. You can't do the Last Supper at a Jewish scout meeting.
I love the score. It's, like, camp counselor or whatever, where he's, like, trying to catch the bear. He's like, God damn it, I lost another squirt.
And he's, like, the movie ticket seller guy and everything.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that, it's got, like, a ton of good laughs. It's the first appearance of Moses and everything.
Yeah.
I love it when he returns in the Super Best Friends and
everything. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Moses in the series.
Yeah. I loved Kenny saving the day at the end, too. Super Kenny.
His little sacrifice.
It was Mysterion's origin story. That's where it all began.
That's when Kenny used to actually be in the show.
Right? I know.
Alright. I'm ready to move on.
Me too.
Here's another guest star episode. Korn's Groovy Pirate Ghost Mystery.
Aired October 27th, 1999.
New metal band Korn guest stars in this episode where they're blamed for making Halloween immoral, and the boys use Kyle's grandmother's corpse to scare fifth graders. Yeah. See, this episode is probably my least favorite, just because...
Really? I like this one.
I don't like Korn. So.
Oh.
I just had some good laughs in it and everything, but the reason... I read somewhere, it may be wrong, that Korn wanted to promote their new album and everything, and so they asked Matt and Trey, like, hey, can we be on the show? And they did. So that's why it exists.
I didn't even know who they were. I have in my notes here, it says, special appearance from Korn. That's a band, I guess. I loved the Scooby-Doo parody of this one. I thought that was really, like, kind of dorky, but also pretty funny. I do love Scooby-Doo.
The little Niblet and everything. Like,
yeah, Niblet!
He just shows up out of nowhere and everything.
And I did love the whole thing where Kenny's like bragging about his sweet costume, and he has his awesome robot costume, and then he loses to fucking Wendy in the Chewbacca thing again. Poor Kenny.
I also love how Kyle's grandmother, Cleo, I think her name is, they steal her corpse and everything, and the dog eats it, and at the end, like,
God.
like, wait, what happened to Kyle's dead grandmother? And the dog just like vomits out her body.
Oh god.
Like, that's the highlight of this episode.
That was the highlight for you, Shirley, really? You sick fuck.
For me. But, yeah, that's kind of it for what I have to say about that episode.
Yeah, me too. Oh, the next one's this one's my favorite, the next one.
The next one is a lot of people's favorites. It actually,
my favorite of the season, anyway.
Yeah. It's actually the Chinpokomon is the episode, and it's actually like it's the earliest fan favorite episode. Like out of all of the like top 10s or top 15s, this is the earliest one.
Yeah. All right. This aired November 3rd, 1999.
The boys become fascinated with the latest fad from Japan, which turns out to be an insidious plot to have American children brainwashed into overthrowing the U.S. government.
Alright. And this is clearly...
That's the whole episode.
Yeah. This is clearly where Pokemon Go came from, right? According to Trey.
Exactly.
How they stole the idea from them.
And my fun little fact for this episode, Trey has said that a big plot line in this story is like how the Japanese basically fool the Americans by just saying like, oh, flattering them like, oh, you have big penis and everything. And that's based on a person that they actually met, one of their Asian friends and everything. They were in Japan meeting his boss, named, I think his name was Mr. Jose, and he just kept talking about how small his penis was, and apparently Matt felt it, and he was like, yep, it's small. So
I remember that interview. I love the part at the end where Matt's like, oh, that was a nice guy. Small penis, though.
Small penis.
Alright, so I like this episode because I think it's really funny, and it also kind of addresses the influence of, like, peer pressure and insincere marketing, and it had, like, a good story behind all the laughs.
And it also, like, had, Kenny ends up with a seizure and everything. Yeah. And that actually happened with some Pokemon games. Like, some of the Pokemon games or episodes of the show, like, induce seizures in some kids because of how flashy and bright the animation was. So
I did not know that. I also love this episode because, like, it's, like, the start of this thing that Kyle kind of goes through throughout the show, where he's, like, always behind in the fads and he never knows what's going on. I, like, love that because I didn't...
happens, like, a lot.
Yeah.
So much.
And I can, like, totally relate to Kyle, too. Like, that's so me. I never know what's happening ever. Even, like, according to what's supposed to be cool and what's not.
So, yeah, it's kind of like a really well-written episode.
Yeah, like, I love this one. My favorite of the season.
Alright, let's move on to Hooked on Monkey Phonics.
It aired November 10th, 1999.
A homeschooled boy decides to start at public school, much to his overprotective parents' fear. Meanwhile, Kyle falls for the boy's sister.
Alright, can I just say how cute is Kyle with his little girlfriend in this episode? I thought they were adorable.
This episode is when he's singing outside of her window and everything, playing guitar, just singing like, you really are quite good looking, Rebecca.
And she, like, throws change at him.
It's adorable. Like, I don't know, I really like Kyle in this episode.
Me too. I think I'm just gonna spend...
I care less about, the little boy's story.
Yeah,
I just
know.
want to see Kyle be adorable.
Yeah, I just want to gush about Kyle for a few minutes. I thought oh shit, hold on. I thought it was really funny how Kyle's, like, waiting for Rebecca at the dance or whatever, and then Stan, like, makes fun of Kyle. Stan has the audacity to be like, oh, you're so lame now. Like, really, Stan? You're gonna make...
You have a girlfriend.
Yeah, you, of all people, are gonna make fun of Kyle for having a girlfriend. Really?
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing. I love at the end, she turns into like a total horror slut thing, and everything. It just goes around kissing everybody.
Mm-hmm. I also love the whole thing. I thought Rebecca as a character was really funny. How she's all like super smart and like socially awkward and weird. And at one point, like Kyle was like, "She's my dream girl," and I'm like, "Really? Like that's Kyle's dream girl?" It's kind of like says a lot about Kyle. I don't know. Like I think that's kind of cute.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Oh my gosh, I had something to say about this episode. I actually like really like the message in this story and everything, and it's about homeschool kids.
Yeah.
Like, no offense to anybody who's like homeschooled or anything, but it's just like that's where public schools where people can learn social skills and all that.
Yeah.
I really like the message. Like, if you try and shelter your kids from everything, they end up
worse for
exploring
it,
and going overboard. So
yeah, I did a really good depiction of how homeschooled kids are like treated differently and they lack all these social cues. So yeah, this was a funny episode and it did a good job with the message.
And it's not even like just homeschool kid; it's just kids who are like super sheltered, like way sheltered. Like they're gonna rebel. It's gonna happen one or two ways. Like they're either gonna rebel and be the exact opposite, or they're gonna be super scared of everything.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, hate everything. You know.
Yeah, it's always the quiet ones who like freak out and you let them go loose, right?
Yeah, always. All right, let's go on to Starvin Marvin in Space.
November 17th, 1999 was when it aired, and Starvin Marvin is back.
Starvin Marvin's back. The boys must save Starvin Marvin from the government and a Christian group who cares more about converting people from third world countries than giving them food or shelter.
I don't have much to say about this episode besides the fact that it like makes fun of missionaries and their bad intentions, which is kind of like completely contradictory to the Book of Mormon, which is kind of funny.
See, I know a fun fact. I don't remember where it was said, but I know Trey talked about this, where somebody, I think it was on one of their commentaries, where they mentioned that they were talking to this one woman who they were working with on something, and she's like, "Oh, well, I'm not really a big fan of the crude humor on South Park, but there's like this one really funny show where it's this little Ethiopian kid riding around in a spaceship, and there's Sally Struthers in it." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, she thought that was like an entire show."
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Ugh. Sorry, I'm like dying over here.
Yeah, this episode, it's not my favorite, but I think it's got some funny, scenes in it. I like the Marklarv.
Yeah.
And that's pretty funny. But.
I like the part at the end where like, "Oh, or Stan or someone is like, 'Oh, we'll come visit you, Starvin Marvin,' and then Cartman's like, 'No, we won't, dude.' He's like, 'Yeah, but you don't say that to him while we're still here.'"
Yeah, I don't have too much to say about it. It's funny. I like Starvin Marvin and everything. I like the message behind it. Some people just want to like, missionaries want to like force their beliefs instead of just trying to help people.
Exactly. Yeah. That's all I have to say. This episode was okay.
Yep, it was good. That's the last we've seen of Starvin Marvin, I think, though.
Aww.
Like, poor Starvin Marvin. Maybe he just they're on Mars and everything, or wherever they are. So
with all the Marklars.
The reason why we haven't seen him.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're gonna move on to the Red Badge of Gayness.
It aired November 24th, 1999.
During a Civil War reenactment, Carbon as General Lee leads the drunk Confederate army to attack the Union soldiers across America.
I think
the only thing I really remember about this episode, like after a while from watching it, is the s'more schnapps.
Yeah, me too.
That's the like most memorable part of this episode.
I always remember the s'more schnapps. I think this is the first instance where we see Cartman like manipulate an entire group of people. It's kind of like the beginning of Cartman's manipulation, and it's him but it's like the first time he's ever done it to like a big, like the entire male population of South Park were like under his influence. It was like, it's Cartman's origins. This season's all about origins.
See, what I find really weird about this episode, and I guess they did it for a reason, so they wouldn't have like too much social commentary or anything, but even the people who like are reenacting the Union side, they end up going as like the Confederates and everything, and I'm like, well, that's kind of like pretty racist, because the Confederates wanted to keep slavery.
Yeah.
Like, they never bring that up.
I know.
They never bring up the fact that they're fighting for slavery. They just want to like win the war. I'm like,
I think
that would be kind of funny if they actually like brought it up and everything.
I feel like if they would have had Chef in that episode, it could have been it could have been a very different episode.
Like it would be funny if like Chef got like really drunk on the Schmainforest and just ended up fighting.
I was like, I'm for it, whatever.
But yeah, that's like kind of all I have to say about that episode. I just think it's so weird that they never once acknowledged that. They just wanted to win the war, not necessarily for slavery or anything. They never bring that up.
The only other memorable thing about this episode is that I liked is like all these letters that Carmen would like write to Stan and Kyle. It was like, I hate you guys so very much.
Next is my absolute favorite episode, like one of my favorite episodes ever. I love this episode so much. It's Mr. Hankey's Christmas Classic.
It aired December 1st, 1999.
Mr. Hankey hosts a Christmas musical featuring South Park characters singing twisted renditions of classic Christmas songs and a memorial piece to voice actress Mary Kay Bergman. Wish I could talk. Yeah, that's this is kind of a sad episode because it does pay tribute at the end to Mary Kay Bergman, who voiced South Park characters, pretty much all the female characters for the first 3 years, and she had committed suicide.
Oh,
shortly.
I mean, I knew about that, but I didn't know it was dedicated to her. I probably didn't pay attention enough while I was watching it.
It was the very last song had like little pictures and flashes of all of her characters that she had voiced and said in her loving memory and everything. So I don't know too much about her death. I do know it was like a suicide and everything, and she struggled with depression. But that was pretty sweet of them to, dedicate an entire episode. But that's not like the only reason why I absolutely love this episode. I love it because they just did it to. It's an episode unlike any other. And some people may dislike it because of this reason, but they did it to promote their actual, like, Christmas album.
Really?
Yes, it was Mr. Hankey's Christmas Classics was the name of the album, and it's kind of like a clip show, but it's the mini music videos to all their songs, and some of them are like Christmas classics, and then some of them are original songs that Trey wrote, and these, no joke, are like some of his best like musical writings. Like I think some of his like original songs, like I can list all of them. I probably will do that later, but
I mean that's
so
a really
many of his like
that's a really
his original songs are so good.
That's a really interesting fun fact. I didn't know that because I mean I don't have anything against this episode, but like while I was watching it, I'm like I feel like Matt and Trey just made this to like get out of making a real episode. Like maybe they didn't feel like it.
Well, I know this episode, I can talk about this episode forever because I love it so much. But a lot of people might be like really confused. I know I was when I first watched it. About at the beginning and then kind of like through every single commercial break. When it opens the episode, there's just this guy going fighting the Frizzies at 11.
Yeah.
That was paying a little homage to a bootleg tape of the Star Wars Christmas special. Like, there's a bootleg tape that they explained this in, I think, the commentaries, that this bootleg tape that just kind of got everywhere for this Christmas special for Star Wars just had, like, this newscaster going, fighting the Frizzies at 11, and then the thing would start. So they paid homage to that and did that for every commercial break.
Yeah, I like when it was happening, I was like, what is this? But like I didn't really think about it. I like kind of dismissed it until the end. I was like, oh my god.
But I'm just such a big fan because I absolutely love the music.
Yeah.
In this episode, they've never done anything like this before, but the album has other songs that they didn't feature in the episode. It's got like sorry. It's got like 18 songs on the album, but definitely my favorites are the Dreidel 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 number with Gerald singing just like Courtney, come, I love you, you are so hot.
And she looks so pissed.
And I really love the Christmas Time in Hell, like that's so well written. It's so catchy. catchy.
Yeah, yeah.
I just want to play it all year round. And they also have, Oh Holy Night by Eric Cartman.
Oh, yeah.
Like, where he doesn't know the words.
Yeah.
Like,
he's like, something.
Oh my god. That is the night for Christmas trees and pie. Like, just making up his own little lyrics. But obviously, like, the best part is the medley with Santa and Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Lounge singers. And,
oh, yeah.
Like, that's the closest I think we've ever heard to, like, Matt's actual singing voice. Because Matt just talks in his normal voice for Jesus, so.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know that. I actually like Mr. Garrison's song, like the really crude and awful one, yeah.
See, it's weird because I know people who would take that seriously.
Yeah.
Like, they take this song so seriously. Like, I'm related to some of the people who would take it so seriously, and not as a joke. But, yeah, it's just, he's, like, all of Trey's original songs on this album are, like, so well written. They're, like, so funny. Like, one that's on the album that's not on the episode is, like, I don't remember what it's called, but it's like, you can suck all the dick you want and still be a virgin.
Oh, shit.
Like,
I have to listen to this CD now.
It's great. Like, I think the whole album's on YouTube, so give it a listen.
Alright. Do you want to, as much as it probably pains you, Shirley, we should go on.
We should move on. I could talk about that episode forever.
That's actually good, because I didn't have that much for that one.
That's because I had all of it.
Yeah.
Let's see. The next episode is Are You There, God? It's Me, Jesus.
It aired December 19th, 1999.
Cartman and Kenny mistake a colon infection for their menstrual cycle, prompting Kyle to lie about getting his period and Stan to ingest hormone pills so he will not feel left out. Meanwhile, Jesus plans a New Year's party and is worried his father will not be there.
Alright, this is the kind of another episode of showing how like young the boys are and how little they know about sex, and it's so like different compared to now.
Like they Cartman bragging about getting his period, like, I'm finally a man.
Yeah.
And he does the same in Scott Tenorman Must Die, like,
yeah.
getting pubes and everything. Like, he doesn't understand much. He still doesn't understand a lot.
Yeah, he also does that in the Namble episode where he's like, I'm too mature to hang out with you guys.
He, like, still, like, even in season 20, he's just like, yeah, girls don't have balls. Like,
yeah.
He doesn't know anything.
He knows
like,
the least out of all of them, probably.
And his mom is the biggest slut out of all of them. You'd think he'd know so
right?
much.
I know. Can I just say how creepy it was seeing Stan being on hormones at like 8 years old? He had boobs.
And with breasts and everything.
And he had a beard, and his voice was like cracking all the time. I was like, oh, why?
I love it. And also, I love Kenny's death in this episode because he just sticks a tampon up his butt and dies.
Yeah.
It just explodes.
And the doctor's like, I don't know. I'm worried it could be a fad among young people these days.
So that was a funny little episode.
I love
you get to see God in this episode.
Yeah, you do. God is so weird looking.
Thing is, he could probably take on any form. He just takes on that form.
He shows that one, yeah. I love the end, the part where Stan steals a question to God from everyone else, and they're so mad. That always kills me.
Well, my child, you're a boy.
So.
So.
Wait, oh my god.
And then Kyle having his little pep talk with Ike and everything, explaining, like, Ike obviously is just, like, babbling like a cute little baby.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird, because now I, like, remember that Ike is just a tiny little baby through the early seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, now he's
still young, but
school and everything. But before, he was like a baby.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Alright, ready to move on to the very last episode?
Yes, I am.
Alright, the last episode is Worldwide Recorder Concert.
It aired January 12th, 2000.
The boys travel to Arkansas to perform at a recorder concert. Meanwhile, Mr. Garrison confronts his father about not being sexually molested as a child.
Oh god. That whole storyline, I don't even know what to say.
It is so funny. They were actually talking about I think the very first time Matt and Trey were at the Paley Center, it was around the time that they were making this season, or right after they had made this season, and they were saying, like, oh, when it first started, we could never do a plot line like this. It was hard enough to get the kind of plot line with Garrison wanting to be sexually molested and everything. It was hard to get that on air. And now it would just be like, oh, you want to have him, like, that's nothing new.
Yeah, they'd be like, sure, let's do that.
Yeah, cool. That's not surprising for Mr. Garrison. Like,
right?
But it's still super funny. It's still, like, that's a really funny part of this episode.
Yeah.
And the brown note, the whole
brown
brown note.
noise, yeah. Oh my god.
Like, everybody, like, collectively shitting their pants.
Like, everyone in the world. Oh my gosh.
The brown noise, fun fact, for this episode, the brown noise, like, made another appearance in the game, in the Stick of Truth. Like, that was one of Jimmy Vollmer's little moves. He can make the little brown noise.
I forgot about that.
That's all I have to say for season 3. Yeah. I don't think it's as bad. I can definitely tell it wasn't, like, the normal South Park.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't. It's not terrible to me, but, you know, it's not what fans remember as much.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Alright, are you ready to go on to the movies?
Let's go on to the movies. We're going to go chronological order.
Alright, starting with Cannibal the Musical.
Alright, for those who don't know, this is Matt and Trey's college film project. This is their film project. They had tried to make a budget and make it an independent film and everything. Troma was able to pick it. Troma, like a little company that could, like, fund it and everything, or I don't know what they did, but distribute the movie. Like, they distributed the little independent movie. It's a musical based on a Colorado convicted cannibal named Alfred Packer. Everything, and that's all I really have to say about it.
It's very loosely based on a short story. It's not short story, true story. My bad. Mm-hmm. It's their first film together, I believe. Besides, like, other film stuff they've done that we haven't seen when they were in college. It's so
funny to see baby Matt and Trey. Like, they're
I
babies.
know! They're like our age. This is weird.
It's like Jason McHugh and Dean Bakar and Matt and Trey, and
they're so little.
This was at the time where Trey was really depressed because his fiance had cheated on him.
Yeah, Leanne.
Which is weird to think that he had a fiance at that point because I'm that age.
Yeah, ooh, I would never get engaged at this
really
age.
Weird because Rachel and I are both, 19 and everything, and at this time that we're recording, we're 19, and it's weird to think, like, wow, Matt and Trey were actually, like, making movies.
Yeah, and getting engaged and shit. Like, I've never been that serious about anything in my life, ever.
No.
Except maybe how much I like South Park.
And it's funny because now Matt and Trey, like, acknowledge that, like, 19 is, like, babies. Like, they're babies and everything. They're kids.
You know what? I'm 19 and I know I'm a baby, okay? I'm aware.
I know I'm a baby. I have friends who are having babies right now.
I know,
like,
me too.
Dude, I am the baby.
Yeah.
I am a baby.
I can't take care of a baby because I am one.
All this stress is bad for the baby. Me. I am the
baby.
Yeah.
Alright, well, speaking of Trey's fiance, I loved the whole Leanne the horse being a metaphor, I guess, for the fiance, about how every man in town has ridden her. But it was also kind of funny, like, imagining myself watching this movie without knowing that, and how weird it is hearing Trey sing this love song about a fucking horse. Like,
yeah.
It's so weird.
And what's also, like, really weird about this is that Leanne, like, the real Leanne, she choreographed this movie. She did the choreography.
Really?
For this movie. She's credited.
Like, she wasn't mad?
I don't know if she felt guilty or something and just, like, went along with it, or she didn't realize that she was being the butt of the joke, or what happened. But, yeah, she did the choreography for this movie, and she either knew about it or something else happened. But,
I don't know. Maybe she's, like, a super good sense of humor.
Yep. But it's so funny on the drunk commentary love this movie with like Jason McHugh and Matt and Trey and Dean and some other people. Like, it's like a drunk commentary and everything. They're like drunk and high and everything, just watching this movie. And Trey just keeps talking about how much he hates Leanne and everything. And
that's kind of funny because, like, while I'm watching this movie, I feel like I'm drunk and high. Like, that's the effect it has on me.
And you can definitely see, like, the growth of Trey's, like, musical writing and everything. Yeah. Because they're good songs. They're, like, very well written, especially for somebody as young as Trey. Like, at the time that they were written, you know, it's got Spadoinkle, and That's All I'm Asking For, which is adorable. I love watching, like, those boys awkwardly dance, too.
I know.
Like, Leanne didn't do a very good job of choreography. I'm sorry, Leanne, but it's a little dorky.
God, Leanne.
God, Leanne. First you cheat on Trey, then you come up with shitty choreography.
Ugh. then your TV show counterpart gives birth to Eric Cartman. So that's 3 bad things you did.
Like, Leanne, where is Otero? Sorry, Leanne, if you're ever listening to this. Which
she can't get a break 20 years later.
But, yeah, it's kind of like a weird sort of, I still love watching it, but to, like, a casual viewer, it's gonna be, like, the dumbest thing that they'll ever see. But, you know, it's really great because when you take into account, like, how young they were and how hard they worked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a really good movie for a college.
Yeah.
It's really good for a college movie, you know, and it was funny. It had good music and everything.
Yeah, like viewing it in that lens, like I was super impressed. I'm like, I could never do this at this age. Like, I don't know anything about anything.
So, yeah, but it's, I don't know. This movie will always have like a special place in my heart. You know, it's really, the people who will appreciate it are Matt and Trey fans, or musical theater nerds, or college film students. Like, I think those are the people who will like really love this film. But it was actually rejected. I'm thinking about Orgazmo. Orgazmo was rejected for the film festival. I think. I'm probably getting all my facts wrong.
God, Shirley.
Leave me. But speaking of which, do you want to move on to Orgazmo?
Sure.
All right. This is my favorite out of the 3 films that we're going to talk about. Because it is so funny to me.
Yeah, can I just say that I really wish that Matt's character was a bigger part in this movie, because he was so funny. I was, like, in hysterics every time he was on the screen.
I don't sound like a queer or nothing. I'd like to shoot an asshole up your butt.
And I love the part at the end with Sancho or whatever, where he's like, I don't want to sound like a queer or nothing, but, like, fire is super romantic. And then Matt's like, his face. That was, like, the best part of the movie.
See, Matt always ends up, like, in these 3 movies, he's always, like, the same character, and it's so different from what Matt's actually like. He's always playing, like, the dumb character, and we all know Matt's, like, super smart.
Yeah,
so
right.
He loves playing.
Acting.
He loves acting, like, as these really stupid, dumb, quirky characters, and I love it.
He does a good job, though. I wish, like, in all 3 movies, he was like Animar.
For real, like, oh my gosh, and there's like a blooper reel. You can find it on YouTube. There's a blooper reel for this movie, and it's just 2 minutes of Matt doing not trying to sound like a queer or nothing, but it's just.
You just send me that. Send me that.
It cracks up every time. And like Matt does a bunch of like little improv stuff where he like blows kisses and like kisses Trey's ear and like smacks his butt and everything. Like,
that's funny.
It's so great. I love how we're just talking about Matt in this movie. Like,
okay, let's talk about other stuff.
Should we explain like I'll explain the plot.
Yeah, sure.
So, this Mormon guy, I love explaining the plot, especially to my friends, because they're all like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" So, there's this Mormon named Joe, right?
Yes,
Joe?
it's Trey's character,
and played by Trey. And he's engaged, and he wants to save up enough money to get his wedding at Salt Lake City, you know. And so he stumbles upon, like, while he's doing his like little missionary stuff, he stumbles upon like a porn director's house and everything. And the porn director's shooting Orgazmo and everything, and he needs somebody who can fight,
Mm-hmm.
who can do all these action scenes for his porno movie.
Yeah.
And he finds out because randomly Trey just starts beating up.
Yeah.
Apparently Trey actually had a black belt at one point.
I think it's funny watching that scene how this Joe the Mormon guy, who's such a cheesy losery guy, is so good at fighting, but in the movie they literally never explain why. They don't even talk about him liking karate or anything. He just is. He just is a good fighter.
The guy offers him a job to just do the fighting scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Just do the fighting scenes as Orgazmo.
And then we'll give you a stunt cock.
A large sum of money. And so Joe agrees to do it. And they just use a stunt cock and everything. I always love the scene where they're just stunt cock. So,
I like this part where he's stunt cock, and a black guy walks out, and the director's
But basically, there are other little subplots and everything, but the basic plot is he's trying to, struggle with his faith and everything while still doing this adult movie, and he's trying to keep his fiancée from finding out about it. And
Can I just say that I actually love Joe's fiancée, because she's, always screaming all the time, and I thought that was so funny. Just ah! All the time.
But, it's just so funny. This is, one of my favorite Matt and Trey products ever. I love all the characters. I think the story is, super clever. It's a really, really, really clever thing. And it even ties in, it was a few years before South Park and everything. But, there's a running joke in South Park about, I don't remember what episode, but it's Detective Yates, waiting too long to say freeze.
Yeah.
The prostitute and waits too long to say freeze. That was going to be in Orgazmo, and it just never made the cut.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of cool to see how this kind of influenced Matt and Trey's humor and everything, because it's just their humor.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
It's such a great movie. At least I think it is.
Yeah, me too.
I kind of think it's weird. But.
I love this whole, because Joe and Lisa are such these corny characters. They do get good jokes out of them. I think the whole funny that's the part where they're on the phone, they're Jesus and I love you. That's so lame, but so cute. And then I also loved how whenever they say they're from Utah, people are oh my god, I'm so sorry.
I also love there's Dean's in this movie again and everything, and he creates the actual Orgazmo.
Yeah.
It forces people to have orgasms and everything, and they go out and test it on people. And
that seems so funny.
Dave Matt's character literally just he's talking, he just stands there and just orgasms, and then just returns it's nothing. And, the only thing about this movie, and I mean this whole movie is pretty much a what the fuck movie.
I know.
There's this one part in this whole movie that even I'm just what the fuck? And it's the hamster thing.
Yeah, I know. I'm what?
Hamster thing.
I'm what the fuck am I watching?
There's
it was so weird.
I don't fully understand it
same.
at all.
I'm I didn't grasp what was going on.
Has a traumatic past with this hamster thing, and I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But one last fun fact that I have about this movie is that it gave Matt and Trey's band. Yes, they actually do have a band together. Mm-hmm. Their band's name, which is DVDA, Double Vaginal, Double Anal. From this movie. So,
nice.
gotta watch this movie. It's fantastic.
I think the scene that's my favorite is the one where Joe...
Cocks way up,
where Joe has to, has a scene with the Asfuck twins, and he's okay, let's call them the Naughty Twins. Why would you call them that? They get fucked in the ass. Well, that's pretty naughty.
Oh my gosh, I rate this 4 out of 4 cocks. And
4 out of 4 orgasms.
It's a fantastic movie. Totally recommend.
Amazing,
Show it at your church for you losers.
Oh, I did have one sort of fun fact that I wanted to talk about. It was a parallel to the Book of Mormon, Like this scene where Orgazmo and Chota Boy confront the mob bosses, and the mob bosses are like, "What the fuck is this?" It was like a direct parallel to like Elder Price confronting Butt Fucking Naked, and he's like, "What the fuck is this?" I was like, oh my god! I totally noticed like the similarities in that scene. I was like, oh.
I think this.
I love Orgazmo.
It's my favorite out of the three we're gonna talk about, but I think it's time to move on to our last.
BASEketball. A classic, am I right?
A classic. One of the greats. One of the greats. Definitely Matt and Trey's favorite thing that they've ever done.
Exactly. South Park who?
Like, really, all we want to talk about is BASEketball.
Exactly.
I love how they can just joke about it. They acknowledge the fact that they are proud of the fact, well, I don't know if proud's the right word, but they're
aware.
They were in this crappy movie, but they did it because it was a crappy movie.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh my gosh, the script is terrible. Like, they don't try and hide the fact that it was a really bad movie. They are like, oh yeah, we did it because it was so terrible, and we had to be a part of it.
Alright, I love the whole, like, it's like this, BASEketball is like this raunchy sports comedy movie, but it has like, it's like the most 90s thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, it has so many 90s movie cliches, like love triangle, the greedy and rich villains. Yeah. Zeros turn to heroes, stuff like that. Like, oh my god.
Like, it's just so 90s.
I know, like literally.
90s and everything.
Even some of the jokes were like so much 90s jokes. I was like, oh my god.
I think the only time Matt and Trey really get irritated is when they about this movie is when they when they're perceived as the people who like made this movie. Like, no, they just acted. They just acted.
Yeah, I know. I remember when I first watched it, like I thought that they made it and everything, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that they didn't. I didn't know that they didn't.
Weird.
Mhm.
But it's so funny. Like Matt and Trey always joke about like when people recognize, they get excited when people are like, oh, it's the South Park guys. Oh, it's Orgazmo guys. Oh, it's Book of Mormon. And then
there'll be one guy.
Like, it's BASEketball guys.
That's
like,
me.
no.
Like. It wasn't me personally. It wasn't me personally, but that's like me in spirit. I actually really like BASEketball.
See, I like BASEketball in the fact that I know the background to it. Like, I know it would be Behind the Blow, one of our friends mentioned. Like, without these two, it would just be a totally different movie. Without Matt and Trey, there would be nobody else.
I feel like they made it like watchable. Otherwise, it would just be another bad movie.
See, and Matt actually coined the term derp in
oh
this
yeah,
movie.
yeah, I noticed that.
Coined the term derp in this movie because they and they also like Mr. Derp in the Succubus. I forgot to mention this, but the episode The Succubus is based on the derpy jokes in BASEketball.
Oh my god.
And what's really cool about this movie, the only thing that's cool about this movie is Matt and Trey like decided to do it before South Park had like taken off, before they got like the pilot, and before they started the show. Like they were just hired to do this movie. They were just nobodies, and like mid-production towards the end, that's when South Park took off. So everybody knew them, like, oh, it's the South Park guys. And they're like, God damn it.
Yeah, like this is our
really?
big break. I love the line where they, like, kind of call themselves out. I love when they do that. Where Trey's character is like, oh, now you're such a big shot, you're going to act in a Hollywood movie, you fucking sell out.
Like, it's just all... There are so many, like, it's just one of those movies where it's, like, it's not funny. It's not a funny movie. Like, the humor is bad, and it is a bad movie. But that's what makes it so enjoyable to watch.
Right,
like,
yeah.
If you love watching, like, crappy movies, like, this is the movie to watch.
Yeah, watch
BASEketball. If you're a
BASEketball.
Matt and Trey fan, it's all the more reason to watch it, so.
Oh, yeah, also the fact that the link that I used to watch this movie, like, gave my computer a virus, and that's, like, so fitting for BASEketball.
But turn back.
I know, they were, like, warning me. I think one of my... I actually have a few favorite scenes from this movie. I like the part, like, the whole dude conversation with, like, dude.
Dude.
You got a good point there, dude.
I also, some of the psych outs, like, make me laugh so
Yeah.
hard. My fucked your sister. Like, that's all he says. I don't know why that's so funny to me, but he's just so deadpan and everything.
I think my favorite scene in the movie is like the weird investigator guy is trying to figure out where Trey is, and he's like, and then Matt's like, for all I care, you could be hanging by his neck in his fucking closet. Just the way he says that is so funny.
Like, Matt needs to give himself more credit.
Right? Like, Matt's so funny in all these movies.
Another thing, like, he's playing kind of like the same character in all these movies. Like, he's just the dumb character, and it's so the polar opposite.
I know. He does a good job.
But, another thing is, like, Dean is also in this movie and everything, and
He's squeak.
I have no clue what, I know they had a falling out with Matt and Trey, with Dean. I know there was a falling out, I just don't know anything else.
Yeah,
like,
me
I
either.
don't know
I, like,
anything
always
about
wondered what happened. Like, he's never, like, in any of the later stuff. I wonder what happened with him.
Yeah, he starred in, like, a few, or he voiced characters, like, in a few South Park episodes and everything, but, like, I have no idea what happened between them. It's like a mystery.
The only other thing I have to say about BASEketball is just to comment on the fact that, like, Matt and Trey make out at the end. Because I always forget about that scene every time I rewatch this movie, and I'm like, oh shit.
Oh, shit, I forgot about it until you brought it up, and
See?
Matt is so into it. Like, he's really into it, like...
Oh, man.
Oh, but, I mean, I think that was, I don't know, it's a good movie to watch if you're, like, a Matt and Trey fan. It's, like, cringy at the same time, though. You're like, oh, really? It's kind of like a guilty pleasure sort of movie.
Yeah, I would call it that.
But, yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about our...
But this podcast wasn't nearly as long as I expected it to be. It was only an hour.
We spared you guys.
Yeah.
We spared you.
Oh, yeah.
Be grateful. Because, honestly, I could have talked that amount of time just about the Mr. Hankey episode. So,
I had to move you along.
lucky.
Yeah. All right. Well, our next podcast is going to be talking about season 4, and we have a few questions we're going to answer next time. So be sure if you have any questions or suggestions for the podcast, send them in, or if you want to be on the show, let us know.
Yep. Let us know. Message us on our blogs and everything, because we're fucking losers.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Bye.